Hola chicas, this is your season sis here with the latest episode that I am calling Is One the Loneliest Number? Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share. This podcast is the audio version of a 2022 blog post of the same name. I have woven in some new insights, randomness, and tangents. Some assume that loneliness is embedded into the DNA of single women 24/7, 365. Hopefully this episode will debunk that myth. Let's begin with some lonely lingo definitions. Loneliness is an unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation. Whenever we are going through, we are quick to throw a pity party for one because nobody understands, nobody cares, nobody loves me, nobody will help me. Violins play. Bursting through the door, we fling ourselves across our beds. We launch into the Negro spiritual. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. If Negro spirituals go too far back for you, you may ignore the verses in Vanessa Armstrong's Nobody But Jesus. Clinging to the chorus too tightly may give these songs a bluesy vibe. If we immerse ourselves into that perception, we conveniently forget that we have a bunch of somebodies in our lives. First of all, God has gifted us Himself. He is omnipresent. The somebodies God has placed in our lives include family, friends, church community, and members of organizations we have joined. Hebrews 13:5, New International Version reads as such. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. Because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. The subheading of that chapter is concluding exhortations. The biblical word often used instead of encourage is exhort, and that definition adds even more emphasis. Exhort is defined as to strongly encourage or urge someone to do something. Have the sense of pushing forward. Remember that you have more than one somebody in your life. Part of that contentment is rejoicing in that instead of focusing on who you don't have. Here's another definition. Loneliness is also described as social pain, a psychological mechanism which motivates individuals to seek social connections. It is often associated with a perceived lack of connection and intimacy. A songwriter penned these lyrics. One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. While the tune that accompanied these words is catchy, forgive me if I don't add it to my playlist. Yes, singles have lonely moments, but married couples and those in romantic relationships are not immune to loneliness. Loneliness occurs in crowded rooms. Just because a space is populated does not mean people will connect. It is easy to get lost in the crowd. Most of us understand that loneliness affects mental and emotional health, but it also impacts physical health. The Psychology Today staff found that loneliness is a risk factor for heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and arthritis, among other diseases. Lonely people are also twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease, research suggests. The state of chronic loneliness may trigger adverse physiological responses such as the increased production of stress hormones, hinder sleep, and result in weakened immunity. As single women, we can look at loneliness as a catalyst for change. Loneliness may be an opportunity to change the trajectory of our lives. Poor health for the rest of our days does not have to be the single woman's fate. I have been hearing a lot about how young adult men are very lonely. So I asked Google and found out that they are the loneliest age group. Loneliness tapers off for those who are in the middle with your seasoned sis and increases again in the 70s. Young or seasoned, no one has to surrender to the statistics. Something can be done about it. Choose to do it. Disconnection is signaled just like flight or fright. Baya Voce at TEDx Salt Lake City 2016 states, 1 in 5 people have learned to suffer alone instead of leaning in. She is a former MTV reality star of The Real World Brooklyn who discovered that living in a house with complete strangers did not erase her loneliness. People who live long lives around the world prioritize connections by spending quality time with people who make them feel seen, heard, and valued. Voce proposes that ritual is necessary for connections to take place. Her formula is as follows. Repeat action plus intention equals ritual, anchor of connection. In other words, synchronize your calendars. Set a date and a time to celebrate or to grieve. Connection is not created by the things we go get. It is created by the things we go back to, she concludes. There was some backlash from people who felt Baya was clueless about how it feels to be lonely. Making connections is difficult for many people, especially if you are new to or without a community. This is where intentionality comes in. Putting yourself out there is risky. The very thought of it makes some retreat further into their caves. Potential rejection causes fright to kick in, blocking opportunities for all types of relationships. With fear in your heart, leap anyway. Solitude is one of many synonyms for loneliness. To me, solitude means self-selected time alone. According to Wikipedia, short-term solitude is often valued as a time when one may work, think, or rest without disturbance. It may be desired for the sake of privacy. Don't confuse solitude with solitary confinement. Someone else places you into solitary confinement against your will. The place and duration of your confinement are chosen for you. Be okay with being alone. You control the location and what happens during and after your solitude. Though I come from a faith tradition that, along with marriage, sees singleness and celibate religion life, for example, nuns or monks, as valid life paths, it hasn't escaped my notice that in everything from movies to books, from Pinterest boards to photography businesses, marriage is perhaps the most common life choice. And from the culture's perspective, the ultimate antidote to loneliness. This quote is from the article, Consider This, Experiencing Loneliness as a Single Woman, Reflections from One Single Woman. This resonates with me. In my opinion, loneliness is not poison. The author thinks that the most authentic function of loneliness points her towards a deeper discovery of the world around her. I concur. This post barely scratched the surface of this intense topic. Therefore, we will explore loneliness further in future posts. Is one the loneliest number? For my sisters who are fresh off of a breakup, divorced, or widowed, does this statement have a different meaning now? Let us know how you feel about it in the comments. This is your seasoned sis saying thanks for joining me. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Until next time, later girlies.